Have you ever closed your eyes in a completely dark, silent room and wondered what remains when you take absolutely everything away? It is a question that feels so simple, so fundamentally tied to our everyday human experience. Yet, it hides one of the most profound paradoxes in the entire cosmos. We spend our lives surrounded by matter. We breathe air. We walk on solid ground. We feel the warmth of the sun on our skin. We are used to density, to a world that is completely full. When we think of nothing, we imagine a blank canvas, a quiet void, an absolute absence of all things. But what if I told you that true emptiness is an illusion? What if the silent, dark void you imagine is actually the most active, restless, and deeply mysterious place in the infinite universe? If you enjoy exploring the quiet mysteries of the cosmos and embarking on these gentle journeys of discovery, please take a moment to settle in, relax your mind, and join us on this path. We are going to travel together, not just across the vast distances of space, but down into the microscopic fabric of reality itself. To understand the quantum vacuum, we first need to look at the universe on a grand scale. When you step outside on a clear night and look up at the stars, you are looking through an ocean of apparent nothingness. The space between the stars in our Milky Way galaxy is almost unimaginably empty. Our nearest stellar neighbor is over 4 light-years away. That distance is so incredibly vast that if you were to shrink our sun down to the size of a single grain of sand, that neighboring star would be another grain of sand sitting several miles away. The space between them would be essentially void, containing only the faintest whisper of gas, a stray particle of ancient cosmic dust, and the deep, silent cold of space. This is the emptiness we are taught to imagine. It is a quiet, gentle emptiness that makes us feel incredibly small, a vast ocean of silence where galaxies drift like lonely islands. For most of human history, we looked up at that night sky and assumed that the darkness between the stars was simply empty space, a passive container holding the magnificent objects of the universe. Let us conduct a thought experiment, a quiet journey of the mind. Imagine you have a box. To create a true void, you first remove all the solid objects from the box. Then, you pump out all the air, removing every single molecule of nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. So, you cool the box down to absolute zero, the coldest possible temperature in the universe, where all thermal radiation ceases to exist. You shield the box with layers of dense lead to block any stray cosmic rays or background radiation from the ancient echoes of the universe's birth. You take away the matter. You take away the heat. You take away the light. You take away the energy. You are left with a perfectly dark, perfectly cold, perfectly empty space. You have created nothing, or so we thought. When physicists finally developed the mathematical tools and the theoretical understanding to peer into this absolute void, what they found completely shattered our understanding of reality. They discovered that the box was not empty at all. In fact, it is physically impossible to have a truly empty space. According to the strange and beautiful rules of quantum physics, nothing is actually a very busy something. The universe, it turns out, abhors an absolute void. To grasp this, we must let go of our everyday intuition and embrace the strange, fluid reality of the quantum realm. At the smallest scales of existence, scales so tiny that even a single atom would look like an entire galaxy by comparison, the universe does not behave like the solid, predictable world we know. In this microscopic world, energy and matter are intimately connected, locked in a continuous, eternal dance. One of the most famous equations in the history of science, developed by Albert Einstein, tells us that energy and mass are two sides of the same coin. They can be converted into one another. In the heart of our perfectly empty, dark, cold box, this profound truth manifests in the most magical way imaginable. Because of a principle known as Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, we can never know both the exact energy of a system and the exact time it takes to measure it with absolute precision. This is not a limitation of our instruments. It is a fundamental property of the cosmos. Because of this built-in cosmic uncertainty, the energy of a perfectly empty vacuum can never be exactly zero. If the energy were exactly zero, there would be no fluctuations, which violates the core rules of quantum mechanics. Therefore, the vacuum must have a baseline energy, a quiet, invisible hum that permeates all of space. But energy, as we established, can turn into mass. And so, in the silent depths of the absolute void, something deeply miraculous happens. The residual energy of the vacuum spontaneously transforms into pairs of tiny, ghostly particles. These are not permanent particles like the electrons and protons that make up your body. They are called virtual particles. They pop into existence out of the pure fabric of nothingness, born from the restless energy of the vacuum. They exist for a brief fraction of a second, instantly colliding and annihilating, returning their energy back to the void. Imagine a calm, flat ocean. From a distance, the surface looks perfectly smooth, a mirror of pure stillness. But if you look closer, if you examine the very surface of the water, you will see tiny ripples, minute disturbances that are constantly rising and falling. The quantum vacuum is exactly like this. The empty space of the universe is a boiling, bubbling sea of infinite potential. It is an endless, invisible storm of creation and destruction happening everywhere, all the time. It is happening in the dark space between the galaxies. It is happening in the vast gulfs between the stars. It is happening right now, in the space between your eyes and the screen you are reading. It is even happening inside your own body, in the empty spaces within the atoms that make up your cells. The development of quantum mechanics transformed the concept of the void into rigorous science, revealing that the vacuum has measurable consequences in our world. Scientists have conducted incredibly precise experiments that prove these fleeting virtual particles truly exist. One of the most famous of these is the Casimir effect. If you take two perfectly smooth, uncharged metallic plates and place them incredibly close to each other in a perfect vacuum, so close that the distance between them is thinner than a human hair, something astonishing occurs. Because the space between the plates is so restricted, only certain virtual particles can pop into existence there. The waves of quantum energy must perfectly fit between the plates. But on the outside of the plates, in the unrestricted infinite expanse of the vacuum, all sizes of virtual particles can freely bubble into existence. This creates a pressure difference. The infinite sea of virtual particles on the outside actually pushes the two plates together. It is a gentle, almost imperceptible force, but it is real, and it has been measured in laboratories around the world. It is the physical manifestation of nothingness, exerting a force on the tangible world. It is the ghost in the cosmic machine reaching out and touching solid matter. Think about what this means for a moment. Take a deep, slow breath, and let the sheer wonder of this scientific truth wash over you. The empty space that surrounds us, The void that we always associated with coldness, isolation, and absence is actually teeming with invisible, ancient vitality. The universe is incredibly alive at its most fundamental level. There is no true emptiness. There is no absolute silence. Even in the deepest, most remote regions of intergalactic space, far from the warmth of any star, the universe is whispering to itself. This realization shifts our entire perspective on our place in the universe. We often feel small and isolated when confronted with the immense scale of the cosmos. We look at the billions of light-years of darkness that separate the great galaxy clusters, and we feel a sense of profound loneliness. But the quantum vacuum tells us a different story. It tells us that we are immersed in an endless, continuous fabric of energy. The same restless quantum sea that bubbles in the vastness of deep space is bubbling in the room with you right now. We are intimately, physically connected to the entire universe through this invisible foundation of reality. We are not solitary beings floating in an empty void. We are temporary patterns of matter sustained by a vibrant, infinite ocean of potential. The implications of this boiling nothingness extend to the very birth and fate of the universe itself. Many cosmologists now believe that the entire universe, with all its hundreds of billions of galaxies, its dark matter, its supermassive black holes, and its endless tapestries of stars, may have been born from a microscopic fluctuation in this quantum vacuum. According to this theory, over 13 billion years ago, before time and space as we know them even existed, a tiny region of the vacuum experienced a spontaneous fluctuation. In a fraction of a second, an event known as cosmic inflation grabbed that microscopic ripple of energy and expanded it at a speed faster than light, stretching it to macroscopic proportions. The tiny, random ripples in the quantum vacuum were frozen into the fabric of the expanding universe. Over billions of years, those original quantum ripples became the seeds of everything we see today. Gravity pulled matter into the slightly denser regions created by the ripples, forming the first stars. Those stars gathered together to form the first dwarf galaxies. Those galaxies merged, consumed each other in a magnificent, slow-motion cosmic dance over eons, eventually building the massive, beautiful spiral and elliptical galaxies that populate our night sky today. You, the Earth, the Sun, and the largest galaxies in the distant cosmos are all the grown-up descendants of tiny, invisible virtual particles that popped out of the vacuum at the dawn of time. This transforms the concept of nothingness from a frightening abyss into the ultimate source of all creation. The void is not a graveyard where things go to disappear. It is the primordial womb from which everything arises. It is the infinite well of potential that makes existence possible. When you realize this, the darkness of the night sky stops being cold and empty. It becomes a gentle, nurturing presence. It is the foundation of reality itself, quietly humming its ancient tune, supporting the magnificent architecture of the cosmos. Our journey into the mystery of the quantum vacuum is only just beginning. We have touched the surface of this endless, invisible ocean, but there are far more profound depths waiting to be explored. How does this quantum energy interact with the mysterious dark energy that is stretching our universe apart? What happens to the vacuum near the crushing, infinite gravity of a black hole? These are the questions that keep the most brilliant minds of our generation awake at night, staring at whiteboards and peering through the data of advanced space missions. As we continue this contemplative journey, we will gently unravel these paradoxes together, exploring how the smallest things govern the largest cosmic structures. For now, let the concept of the living void settle into your mind. The next time you find yourself in a quiet, dark place, do not think of it as empty. Think of it as full of potential, vibrating with the invisible energy of creation. You are safely cradled in a universe that is far more wondrous, far more deeply connected, and far more mysteriously beautiful than we could ever imagine. Have you ever watched a single leaf floating on a slow-moving river, drifting further and further away until it disappears into the mist, and wondered what invisible currents are carrying it? We experience the sensation of distance growing every single day, whether it is watching a train pull away from a station, seeing a flock of birds scatter into the autumn sky, or simply watching the tide retreat from the shoreline. But when we look out into the deep, quiet cosmos, the concept of things moving apart takes on a reality that defies our most fundamental human intuition. We are going to continue our gentle journey into the nature of nothingness, leaving the microscopic bubbling of virtual particles for a moment to look at the grandest scale imaginable. The void, the empty space we just discovered, is teeming with invisible quantum life, is not simply resting there in silence. It is stretching, it is growing, and it is doing so with an unseen, majestic power that dictates the ultimate fate of everything that has ever existed in the infinite universe. For almost the entire 20th century, astronomers believed that the universe was governed by a simple, intuitive rule. Following the explosive birth of the cosmos in the Big Bang, all the matter in the universe, the primordial gas, the sweeping galaxies, the burning stars, the wandering planets, and the ancient dust, was flying outward into the dark. But because absolutely everything has mass, and mass creates the pulling force of gravity, scientists naturally assumed that the collective gravitational attraction of all this material would act like a gigantic cosmic brake. They thought the expansion of the universe must be slowly, gradually losing its momentum, just as a stone thrown upward into the sky eventually runs out of energy and falls gracefully back down to Earth. This assumption made perfect, logical sense to our human minds. Gravity is the ultimate tether, the gentle force that holds our feet to the ground, keeps our oceans from floating away, and guides the moon in its quiet, eternal orbit around our world. It seemed entirely impossible that anything could ever overcome the combined gravitational pull of hundreds of billions of galaxies pulling back on each other. But the universe is a master of profound mystery, and it rarely behaves exactly the way our terrestrial intuition expects it to. In the late 1990s, specifically in the year 1998, two independent teams of astronomers set out to measure exactly how much the universe was slowing down. They did this by scanning the deep heavens for a very specific type of exploding star, called a Type 1a supernova, using them as standard candles to calculate cosmic distances. These ancient white dwarf stars explode with such a consistent, perfectly predictable peak brightness that they act as cosmic lighthouses, allowing us to measure immense distances across the infinite dark. By carefully measuring how faint these exploding stars appeared in our telescopes, the scientists could calculate exactly how far away they were. And by measuring how much the light from those explosions had been stretched toward the red end of the spectrum, they could tell how fast those distant galaxies were moving away from us. What they found when they peered through the lenses of our most powerful observatories completely overturned our understanding of the cosmos. The universe was not slowing down. Instead, the distant galaxies were speeding up and the rate of expansion was accelerating over time. It was as if you threw that heavy stone up into the air, and instead of slowing down and falling back to your hand, it suddenly rocketed upward, moving faster and faster into the boundless sky, defying everything you thought you knew about how the world works. This discovery was so shocking, so entirely counterintuitive, that the scientists themselves initially thought they had made a terrible mistake in their calculations. They checked their data, recalibrated their instruments, and looked again. But as more and more data poured in from the Hubble Space Telescope and other massive observatories around the globe, the truth became absolutely undeniable. Some vast, invisible, and deeply mysterious force was actively pushing the very fabric of the universe apart. It was somehow counteracting the collective pull of all the gravity in existence and driving the island galaxies away from each other at ever-increasing speeds. Scientists gave this invisible phenomenon a name that perfectly encapsulates our profound lack of complete understanding, calling it dark energy. But please do not let the word dark frighten you or evoke thoughts of something sinister. In this astronomical context, the word dark simply means hidden, unseen, and currently unknown to our traditional methods of detection. It is a gentle, quiet force, operating silently in the background of reality, but its cumulative power over vast cosmic distances is staggering. We now estimate that this mysterious energy makes up roughly 68% of everything that exists in the entire universe. Think about the profound weight of that fact for a moment. All the blazing stars, all the rocky planets, all the swirling nebulas, all the supermassive black holes, and every single atom of every single person who has ever lived, loved, and wondered on this earth make up less than 5% of the total cosmos. The rest, the vast, overwhelming majority of physical reality, is made of invisible dark matter, and this profound, stretching dark energy. We are just a tiny, luminous minority in a universe dominated by the unseen. But what exactly is this dark energy? This is where our journey reconnects with the deepest, most quiet mystery of the quantum void that we explored before. Many of the world's leading physicists believe that dark energy is not a separate substance that fills empty space like water filling a glass, but rather a fundamental intrinsic property of space itself. It is the literal energy of nothingness. Remember the boiling, restless sea of virtual particles we discussed earlier? That infinite quantum vacuum has a cost. The constant, eternal creation and annihilation of those ghostly particles gives the vacuum an inherent baseline energy. And, according to Albert Einstein's magnificent theory of general relativity, energy creates pressure. In the peculiar case of the quantum vacuum, this pressure acts outward, causing the very fabric of space and time to stretch and expand. As space expands, more empty space is created, which means there is more vacuum energy present, which creates more outward pressure, which causes space to expand even faster. It is a continuous, self-feeding loop of cosmic creation, driven entirely by the power of the void. This beautiful, terrifying paradox was actually predicted, though entirely by accident, by one of the greatest minds in human history. Albert Einstein, when originally formulating his elegant equations of general relativity in the early 20th century, realized that his beautiful mathematics predicted a universe that was completely unstable, one that must be either actively expanding or collapsing in on itself. Because the prevailing scientific wisdom of his time firmly held that the universe was static, unchanging, and eternal, He deliberately added a mathematical fix to his equations. He introduced a term he called the cosmological constant, intending it to represent a repulsive force that would exactly balance the inward pull of gravity and keep the universe perfectly still. Decades later, when the expansion of the universe was finally discovered, Einstein famously referred to this constant as his biggest blunder. Yet, nearly a century after his passing, as we gaze into the silent, accelerating cosmos with our modern instruments, we realize that his perceived blunder was actually a stroke of unparalleled prophetic genius. It might be a property of empty space itself, something called the cosmological constant that Albert Einstein once proposed and then called his biggest blunder. The cosmological constant is the perfect mathematical representation of dark energy, the quiet breath of the expanding void that pushes the stars away from each other. Try to hold this magnificent realization in your mind for a quiet moment. The empty space around you right now, the invisible distance between your resting hands, the silent, cold gulf between the earth and the moon, and the unfathomable oceans of darkness between the distant galaxies, none of this is passive. Space is a dynamic, living, breathing entity. It has a hidden strength, a gentle but absolutely unstoppable momentum. Right now, as you listen to these words and draw breath, the space between our Milky Way galaxy and the distant galaxy clusters in the deep cosmos is physically stretching. Space itself is expanding, and not just expanding, but accelerating in its expansion. More pure nothingness is being born into existence every single second. It is an ongoing act of continuous, silent creation, happening on a scale so vastly beyond human comprehension that our minds can barely begin to grasp its edges. This relentless, accelerating expansion paints a deeply poignant and contemplative picture of the far future of our universe. Because the expansion is speeding up, distant objects recede from us at ever-increasing speeds. Eventually, many hundreds of billions of years from now, objects will be carried away from us by the expansion of space faster than their light can travel toward us. When that distant era arrives, they will slip silently over an insurmountable cosmic horizon, vanishing forever beyond our reach. The night sky, which is currently filled with the faint, beautiful, ancient glow of trillions of distant galaxies, will slowly and quietly empty out. Our local group of galaxies, bound together by the comforting embrace of local gravity, will remain. But the wider cosmos will fade into an absolute, untouchable darkness. The universe will eventually become a profoundly lonely, quiet place, forever isolated by the overwhelming, stretching power of the silent void. This vision of the deep future might seem melancholy at first glance, but there is a profound, breathtaking beauty in this cosmic solitude. A deep sense of peace that comes from truly understanding our unique place in the grand, sweeping timeline of eternity. We happen to live in a remarkably privileged era, a special, fleeting, golden moment in the long history of the universe when the cosmos is still brightly illuminated, when the neighboring galaxies are still visible across the dark, and when we can still reach out with our brilliant telescopes to read the ancient story written in the starlight. We are the conscious, waking observers of this magnificent, transient era. The fact that we, small, fragile beings made of recycled stardust, living on a tiny rocky planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star, can uncover the hidden weight of nothingness and measure the acceleration of the expanding void is a testament to the incredible, beautiful power of human wonder. We are not separated from this profound mystery. We are deeply, inextricably embedded within it. The exact same dark energy that is silently pushing the distant galaxy clusters apart is present in the very room where you are resting right now. The quantum void bubbles and stretches within you and around you. It is a comforting reminder that the universe is not just something out there, far away in the dark, disconnected from our daily lives. It is here. It is now. It is the invisible architecture of our reality, a gentle, quiet force that shapes the destiny of everything that is, was, and ever will be. Our exploration of this magnificent, expanding puzzle is far from over. As we continue to ask questions, as we continue to peer into the silent depths of the quantum realm and the infinite expanse of the macrocosmos, we realize that every single answer we find only serves to deepen the beautiful mystery of our existence. There are still so many paradoxes waiting for us in the dark spaces between the stars. What happens to this stretching energy at the very end of time? Does the immense power of the vacuum hold the secret to parallel universes, or perhaps the true fundamental nature of time itself? We will gently navigate these profound, mind-bending questions together, traveling further down this peaceful path of discovery. For tonight, let the thought of that stretching, living space bring you a sense of expansive calm. You are an integral part of this ancient, unfolding cosmic story, a curious, beautiful mind, held safely and securely in the vast, stretching, eternal embrace of the universe. Have you ever stood perfectly still in a dense, quiet forest as the sun begins to set, listening to the gentle rustle of leaves in the twilight, and wondered what happens when an unstoppable force finally meets an immovable, absolute boundary? In our daily lives, we are profoundly accustomed to boundaries and limits. We know instinctively where the solid earth ends and the open, airy sky begins. We deeply understand the physical limits of our own delicate bodies, the comforting walls of our safe homes, and the curving shorelines that gracefully contain the vast, turbulent oceans of our world. But when we cast our minds into the deep, silent cosmos, boundaries are rarely as simple or as final as they appear to our earthly senses. We have already explored the hidden, bubbling vitality of the quantum vacuum, discovering that pure nothingness is actually a restless ocean of infinite potential, teeming with ghostly virtual particles. We have seen how the gentle, relentless breath of this vacuum, acting as dark energy, is quietly stretching the very fabric of the universe, pushing distant galaxy clusters apart in the dark. But what happens to this invisible, living void when it encounters the most extreme, crushing, and absolute boundary in all of existence? What happens when the bubbling nothingness of the quantum vacuum meets the terrifying, inescapable grip of a black hole? To truly appreciate this profound cosmic paradox, we must first gently adjust our understanding of what a black hole actually is, stripping away the science fiction to reveal the beautiful, harsh physics underneath. We often think of them as monstrous cosmic vacuums, violently sweeping up everything in their path with reckless abandon. But the truth is far more elegant and mathematically serene. A black hole is born from the quiet death of an ancient, massive star. The massive blue stars went long ago, exploding as supernovas or collapsing into black holes. When such a massive star finally exhausts the internal nuclear fuel that has kept it shining brightly for millions of years, the delicate aeons long balance between the outward push of its stellar furnace and the inward pull of its own immense gravity is instantly broken. In a fraction of a second, the heavy core of the star collapses inward, crushed by its own staggering weight into a point of theoretical infinite density, known as a singularity. Around this singularity lies a perfectly spherical boundary, an invisible threshold in the dark fabric of space called the event horizon. The gravitational pull at the event horizon, the boundary of the black hole, is so intense that even light itself cannot break free. It is the ultimate point of no return, a region of space where time and gravity become so hopelessly warped that our normal, comforting laws of physics simply cease to make sense. Inside the event horizon, all directions lead toward the singularity at the center. Space and time themselves become so warped that the concept of escaping becomes meaningless. For decades, scientists firmly believed that this was the definitive end of the cosmic story. The event horizon was thought to be an absolute, permanent cosmic vault. Anything that crossed that dark threshold was locked away from the rest of the universe forever, trapped in the crushing silence of the singularity. It seemed that in the eternal battle between the fragile light of the cosmos and the overwhelming power of gravity, gravity had finally created an impregnable, dark fortress. But the universe, as we are slowly learning on this contemplative journey, is far more subtle and deeply connected than we ever imagined. The great physicist Stephen Hawking, staring bravely into the mathematical abyss of these dark cosmic titans, realized that human intuition was missing a crucial, fundamental piece of the puzzle. He deeply understood that the event horizon of a black hole does not exist in an empty, passive void. It exists perfectly immersed within the restless, boiling sea of the quantum vacuum. And when the extreme gravity of the black hole perfectly aligns with the bubbling nothingness of quantum space, something almost magical occurs. Stephen Hawking discovered that black holes are not truly black. They slowly leak particles and radiation over immense time spans, gradually shrinking as they do so. This happens because of quantum mechanical effects near the event horizon. Let us close our eyes and visualize this strange, microscopic ballet occurring in the dark. In the strange world of quantum physics, particle pairs are constantly popping into existence and then annihilating each other. Everywhere in the infinite universe, these virtual particles, an electron and a positron, for example, are constantly borrowing a tiny fraction of energy from the void, springing into reality for the briefest, most fleeting moment, and then colliding, gracefully returning their energy to the silent vacuum. This happens constantly, harmlessly, everywhere in the cold darkness. But imagine what happens when this delicate quantum dance takes place exactly on the razor-thin edge of a black hole's event horizon. Near a black hole's event horizon, one member of such a pair can fall into the black hole while the other escapes into space. Before the twin particles have the chance to reunite and annihilate each other, the immense tidal pull of the black hole's gravity intervenes with absolute authority. It grabs the particle that was slightly closer to the boundary and pulls it helplessly across the event horizon, swallowing it forever into the dark. But the other particle, the one that was slightly further away, is suddenly left without its partner in the void. It has absolutely nothing to annihilate with. The vacuum has lent precious energy to create these particles, and the universe strictly demands that its energy accounting be perfectly balanced. To pay off this profound quantum debt, the energy must come from somewhere. Remarkably, it comes from the mass of the black hole itself. The escaped particle is thrust into the vast open cosmos as a real, permanent particle, radiating away into the quiet dark, stealing a microscopic fraction of the black hole's mass as it leaves. This brilliant, continuous stream of escaping particles is known to science as Hawking radiation, and its implications for the ultimate fate of the universe are nothing short of breathtaking. Over time, this process drains energy from the black hole, causing it to shrink. It means that the living, breathing void of the quantum vacuum is actually capable of dismantling the most destructive, absolute objects in the universe. The silent nothingness, simply by existing and bubbling with its inherent potential, is slowly, inevitably, bleeding the black holes dry. The void is not a victim of the black hole's immense gravity. It is the gentle, patient force that will ultimately conquer it completely. This dismantling process, however, is not a violent explosion or a sudden catastrophic collapse. It is the slowest, most patient decay imaginable to the human mind. The rate of Hawking radiation is incredibly slow for large black holes. The larger the black hole, the colder it is, and the slower it radiates its energy away into the surrounding dark. To truly grasp the scale of this cosmic patience, we must stretch our minds to encompass time frames that make the current age of the universe feel like the passing of a single, brief second in a long, quiet afternoon. A black hole with the mass of our Sun would take about 10 to the 67th power years to evaporate. That is a 1 followed by 67 zeros. Just trying to hold that immense number in your imagination is a profound meditation on the scale of eternity. But there are monsters in the deep cosmos that are far, far larger than our small, life-giving Sun. Let us look toward a galaxy called IC 1101. Sitting at the center of this cosmic giant is one of the largest known supermassive black holes in the entire universe. The black hole at the center of IC 1101 is in a completely different category. Scientists estimate that it contains somewhere between 40 billion and 100 billion times the mass of our Sun. The event horizon of this monstrous entity is so unimaginably huge that if it were placed at the center of our solar system, it would extend well beyond the orbit of Pluto, swallowing everything we consider our cosmic home in a single dark breath. How long will it take the gentle, bubbling quantum void to dismantle a leviathan of that unbelievable magnitude? A black hole containing 50 billion solar masses would take something like 10 to the 100th power years to evaporate, or maybe even longer. That is a Google years, a 1 followed by 100 zeros. To write out that number in full would require more paper than exists on Earth. It is a span of time so vast that everything we have discussed so far, from the Big Bang to the death of the last stars, is not even a rounding error by comparison. In this unfathomable future, the middle-sized stars, like our Sun, will puff up into red giants, shed their outer layers as beautiful nebulas, and then fade away as white dwarfs. Even the smallest, longest-lived stars, the red dwarfs that burn their fuel so slowly they can shine for trillions of years, will eventually exhaust their hydrogen and go dark. And the black holes, including that enormous monster at the center of IC 1101, will slowly evaporate through a process called Hawking radiation. Eventually, trillions upon trillions upon trillions of years from now, even the supermassive black hole at the heart of IC 1101 will have radiated away its last bit of energy and disappeared from the universe in a final burst of Hawking radiation. When that finally happens, the black hole will be gone, leaving nothing behind but the faint, scattered radiation of its long, slow decay, spreading out through an ever-expanding, ever-cooling, ever-darkening universe. The universe at this stage will be a dark place, but not an empty one. It will be filled with the quiet, thin whispers of energy released by the long dead stars and the evaporated black holes, all drifting endlessly through an ever-expanding void. There is a profound, almost overwhelming sense of peace in this vision of the far future. We often fear the destructive power of black holes, imagining them as cosmic villains lurking in the dark to devour the delicate light. But the quantum vacuum reveals that even the mightiest gravitational vaults are temporary, fleeting structures in the grand story of deep time. They, too, are bound by the elegant, inescapable rules of the cosmos. The universe is a place of continuous recycling, where energy changes form but is never truly lost to oblivion. The black hole gathers the matter of the universe, crushing it into absolute darkness, but the gentle, persistent bubbling of the void slowly, inevitably, calls that energy back, releasing it particle by particle into the infinite expanse of the cosmos. As you rest here, contemplating these magnificent cosmic truths, feel the gentle safety of your own existence in this brief, brilliant era of starlight. You are a living part of this incredible, ancient system. You are made of the exact same atoms that were forged in the hearts of distant stars, and the energy that safely sustains your life is part of the same grand tapestry that governs the evaporation of black holes and the expansion of the dark universe. The nothingness that softly surrounds us is not an empty, frightening abyss. It is a living, patient sea of potential, powerful enough to stretch the cosmos and gentle enough to dismantle the darkest, heaviest objects in existence, particle by patient particle, over a googol years. We will continue to travel through this magnificent darkness together, unearthing the beautiful secrets hidden in the silent spaces between the stars. The quantum realm still has so much to gently teach us about the very nature of our reality, about how particles can be deeply connected across vast distances, and about the fundamental, mysterious structure of space and time themselves. Let the sheer vastness of this cosmic timeline settle over you like a warm, comforting blanket in the night. There is no rush, no urgency in the silent dark. We have all the time in the universe to explore the beautiful mysteries of the deep void. Have you ever stood outside on a crisp, completely moonless night, holding your hand out into the cool, invisible air, and realized that you can deeply feel the presence of the gentle wind long before you can see the leaves moving in the trees? We are profoundly accustomed to living in a sensory world where seeing is believing, where the physical things we can touch and illuminate with our fragile artificial lights are the only things that truly exist to us. When we gaze up at the vast, silent tapestry of the night sky, our human eyes are naturally drawn to the glowing campfires of the cosmos. We see the brilliant, burning stars, the sweeping, majestic arms of spiral galaxies, and the faint, dusty, colorful glow of ancient nebulas. We assume, quite naturally and understandably, that this beautiful, radiant light represents the sum total of physical reality. We think that where there is sparkling light, there is solid matter, and where there is absolute darkness, there is only the empty, quiet void waiting to be filled. But as we continue our gentle journey into the profound mysteries of nothingness, we must now confront another breathtaking paradox that hides perfectly in plain sight, challenging everything we thought we knew about the empty spaces in the dark. What if the illuminated universe, everything that actively shines, burns, and reflects light across the infinite cosmos, is just a thin, shimmering illusion resting silently on top of a massive, unseen ocean. For many decades in the 20th century, dedicated astronomers spent their quiet nights in cold observatories studying the graceful, eternal rotation of galaxies. They carefully watched how these magnificent island universes, spinning like cosmic pinwheels in the dark, held their billions of stars together in a delicate, balanced gravitational embrace. According to the foundational, well-established laws of celestial physics, a galaxy should rotate based entirely on the visible matter it contains. The combined gravitational pull of all the glowing stars, the swirling gas clouds, and the ancient cosmic dust should dictate exactly how fast the outer edges of the galaxy can spin, without losing their grip and flying apart into the cold, empty void. But when scientists finally developed the advanced mathematical tools and telescopic instruments to measure this galactic rotation with absolute, rigorous precision, they found a deeply unsettling contradiction staring back at them. The two numbers simply did not match in any logical way. The stars at the very outer edges of these swirling galaxies were moving far too fast. They were spinning with such tremendous, terrifying velocity that the gravity from all the visible light, all the combined mass of hundreds of billions of stars, was simply not enough to hold them safely in place. By all known laws of celestial mechanics and classical physics, these beautiful spiral galaxies should have ripped themselves apart billions of years ago, scattering their luminous ancient stars like fragile dust in a violent cosmic wind. Yet, when we look out into the deep silence, there they are, holding perfectly and serenely together in the dark, rotating with an impossible, elegant grace. There is far more gravity present than the visible matter can account for. To solve this profound, universe-altering mystery, physicists had to propose something entirely counterintuitive to the human experience. They realized, with a sense of respectful wonder, that the universe must be filled with a staggering, almost incomprehensible amount of unseen, untouchable material. They called this invisible scaffolding dark matter. Once again, please do not let the word dark invoke a sense of fear, emptiness, or foreboding in your mind. In the gentle, precise, and literal language of modern astronomy, dark simply means perfectly invisible, representing something that does not emit, absorb, or reflect any kind of light or electromagnetic radiation whatsoever. It is a substance so incredibly ghostly, so perfectly disconnected from the familiar spectrum of light, that it does not interact with normal matter, except through the silent, invisible, and ancient pull of gravity. The sheer, overwhelming scale of this hidden reality is almost impossible for our earthly minds to grasp completely, but we can try to approach it gently. In a typical spiral galaxy like our own beautiful Milky Way, this invisible dark matter accounts for roughly 90% of the total mass. The hundreds of billions of stars, the sprawling clouds of gas, the tumbling asteroids, the quiet planets, and every single luminous thing that we can actually observe through our brilliant space telescopes are just a tiny, fragile fraction of what is really there. They are nothing more than glowing, temporal foam riding quietly on the crest of a massive, invisible, eternal wave. Let us look back, for a contemplative moment of scale, at the enormous monster galaxy we discussed earlier in our journey, the giant known as IC 1101, sitting quietly and majestically at the center of the Abel 2029 galaxy cluster. We marveled previously at its estimated 100 trillion burning stars. But the true, terrifying majesty of this cosmic giant lies in the heavy nothingness that we cannot see. Scientists estimate that the total mass of IC 1101, including its vast, unseen dark matter halo, could be as high as 1,100 trillion times the mass of our Sun. That staggering number makes it about 100 times more massive than our entire Milky Way galaxy. This dark matter halo extends far beyond the visible stars of the galaxy. While the stellar body of IC 1101 is already an unfathomable 4 to 6 million light-years across, the dark matter halo likely extends even further into the dark. Some rigorous scientific models suggest it could reach out tens of millions of light-years into intergalactic space, making the complete structure of IC 1101 and its dark surroundings truly mind-boggling. This revelation profoundly changes how we must look at the spaces between the stars. The empty space surrounding these cosmic giants is not empty at all. It is filled with a dense, invisible scaffolding that holds the fragile architecture of the cosmos together. Dark matter forms a vast, intricate cosmic web, stretching endlessly across the infinite dark, creating profound gravitational valleys where ordinary, normal matter can gently gather, cool over eons, and eventually ignite into the brilliant, life-giving fires of stars. Without this invisible, silent presence, the universe as we know it simply could not exist. The earliest galaxies would never have formed from the collapsing clouds of primordial gas. The ancient stars would never have gathered into their protective, swirling clusters. The heavy elements necessary for complex chemistry, the very carbon and oxygen that make up your gently breathing body right now, would never have been forged in those concentrated stellar furnaces. Understanding dark matter is currently one of the biggest challenges facing physics today. We know it is unequivocally there because of its immense gravitational effects, but we still do not know exactly what it is made of. Many brilliant scientists believe it consists of some kind of particle that does not interact with light or normal matter. A strange, silent particle we have not yet detected directly. Huge, magnificent experiments are underway right now around the world, in deep underground mines shielded from cosmic rays, trying patiently to catch dark matter particles as they pass harmlessly through the Earth. So far, despite our greatest technological efforts, none have succeeded. The existence of dark matter shows us that even our understanding of something as large and imposing as IC 1101 is deeply, beautifully incomplete. We can clearly see the ancient stars, and we can precisely measure their traveling light. But 90% of what makes IC 1101 the massive giant it is remains perfectly invisible to us, detectable only through its quiet gravitational influence. There is still so much we do not know. Imagine, if you will, the gentle infancy of the early universe, just a few 100 million years after the initial expansion. The cosmos was a vast, spreading ocean of simple hydrogen and helium gas, dark and featureless. If normal matter were the only thing in existence, the relentless expansion of the universe would have smoothed this gas out perfectly, spreading it too thin for gravity to ever pull it back together. The universe would have remained a cold, uniform, empty mist for all of eternity. But the dark matter was already there in the silence, acting as the quiet, invisible architect of our reality. Because it does not interact with light or radiation, dark matter was able to clump together securely long before normal matter could. It formed immense, invisible clouds, vast spherical halos of unseen mass that acted like patient, cosmic seeds waiting in the dark. These dark matter seeds exerted a gentle, irresistible gravitational pull on the surrounding ocean of normal gas. Slowly, over millions of deep, quiet years, the hydrogen was drawn inevitably into these invisible gravitational basins. As the gas gathered and condensed within the safe confines of the dark matter halos, it grew denser and hotter, until finally, in the deepest, most protected centers of these invisible wells, the first stars ignited, piercing the primordial darkness with their brilliant newborn light. The glorious, illuminated universe that we can see today, the shining galaxies, the burning quasars, the colorful, sweeping nebulas, was entirely built upon a foundation of something we cannot see. The beautiful light we study is merely a fragile decoration placed upon a vast, invisible, ancient structure. Think about the profound humility this cosmic truth gently asks of us as we sit here contemplating our place in the void. For most of our human history, we proudly believed that the stuff we are made of, the protons, neutrons, and electrons that form our bodies, our green earth, and our warming sun, was the standard, default material of the universe. We thought we were the main characters in the grand cosmic play. But the discovery of dark matter tells us a profoundly different, surprisingly comforting story. The normal matter that makes up absolutely everything we can touch, see, and interact with represents a mere 5% of the total universe. We are made of the rarest, most unusual, and delicate substance in existence. We are a beautiful, luminous anomaly, safely floating in a vast universe dominated completely by the dark and the unseen. This realization should not make us feel insignificant or lost. On the contrary, it should fill us with an overwhelming sense of quiet wonder and deep, peaceful gratitude. Out of the vast, invisible majority of the cosmos, a tiny, glowing, fragile fraction of matter managed to organize itself into burning stars, rocky planets, and eventually, conscious, dreaming minds. We are the rare, illuminated portion of the universe that has successfully woken up, opened its eyes, and started asking deep questions about the darkness that surrounds it. We are the universe's own way of understanding its profound mysteries. The very fact that our minds, made entirely of this fragile, unusual 5% of matter, can deduce the existence of the invisible 95%, is a breathtaking testament to the beautiful power of human curiosity and intellect. As we sit here in the quiet calm of the night, let us embrace the gentle mystery of this unseen scaffolding. We do not need to see everything to know with absolute certainty that it is there protecting us. Just as you can feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, even with your eyes closed, or hear the gentle, ancient rhythm of the ocean without seeing the rolling waves, we can perceive the immense, silent weight of the dark universe through the beautiful, graceful movements of the stars spinning in the void. The nothingness is holding us. The emptiness is a supportive, heavy embrace that keeps our galaxy whole and our planet secure. Our journey through the profound paradoxes of nothingness is still unfolding softly before us. We have seen the microscopic, infinite bubbling of the quantum vacuum, the accelerating, majestic stretch of dark energy, the patient, eternal evaporation of black holes, and now the invisible, heavy architecture of dark matter that holds the stars together. But what happens when we try to look back past all these structures, back to the very beginning, to the absolute origin of all this space, matter, and energy? How did the universe itself emerge from the ultimate, timeless void before time began? As we prepare to gently step further back in time, let your mind relax into the vast, protective structure of the hidden cosmos. You are held safely by quiet forces older than light, supported by an invisible web that has gently guided the stars since the very dawn of time. Have you ever watched a single ember glowing softly in the dark ashes of a dying campfire, and tried to imagine the roaring flames that once illuminated the forest? We measure our gentle lives in seconds, days, and years, watching the sun rise and set in a comforting rhythm. But when we turn our minds back toward the ultimate origin of the vast cosmos, our human intuition about time and space completely breaks down. We have journeyed through the infinite quantum void, marveled at dark energy, watched the patient evaporation of black holes, and felt the heavy architecture of dark matter. Now, we must gently travel backward through the deep silence, to the very edge of existence itself, to explore the beautiful, mind-bending mystery of how the universe was born from nothingness. When we ask what happened before the universe began, physics tells us the question might simply have no meaning. The theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking famously compared asking what came before the Big Bang to asking what lies north of the North Pole. Once you reach the absolute top of the Earth, moving further north ceases to exist. In the exact same way, the Big Bang was not an explosion of matter into a pre-existing, quiet room. It was the explosive, magnificent creation of space and time themselves. Before that singular moment, roughly 13,800,000,000 years ago, there was no space to hold anything, and no time for anything to happen. There was only an unimaginable state of absolute singularity. The entire infinite universe, every single star, all the dark matter, and the vast emptiness of the quantum void was compressed into a point infinitely smaller than a single atom. Try to hold that staggering thought gently in your mind for a moment. The towering majesty of the giant galaxy IC 1101, with its 100 trillion burning stars and its massive halo extending for tens of millions of light years, was once contained within a space so exquisitely tiny that it defies all human comprehension. In that primordial singularity, the laws of physics that govern our quiet world today simply did not exist. Gravity, electromagnetism, and the nuclear forces were all unified into a beautifully symmetric, terrifyingly powerful superforce. It was a realm of pure, concentrated potential resting in an eternal, timeless silence. Confronting this ultimate origin requires a profound sense of humility, reminding us that our earthly language struggles to capture the raw majesty of the universe's absolute beginning. And then, for reasons we are still trying to gently unravel, the silence was broken. In a fraction of a single second, an event of unimaginable power and grace occurred, which scientists call cosmic inflation. This was not a chaotic explosion, but a rapid, unimaginably fast stretching of space itself. In less than 1/trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second, the universe expanded exponentially. This beautifully evades Albert Einstein's universal speed limit because it was the actual invisible fabric of space itself expanding, carrying the microscopic quantum seeds along with it. During this fleeting, terrifyingly brief period of inflation, the quiet quantum fluctuations, those tiny bubbles of energy inherent in the vacuum we explored earlier, were instantly frozen and stretched to cosmic proportions. As the universe stretched, it began to cool, much like a hot breath of air cools as it expands into a cold winter night. The single, unified superforce shattered into the distinct fundamental forces that govern our reality today. And from the pure, searing energy of the expanding void, the very first particles of matter began to condense. It was an incredibly hot, blindingly bright fog of fundamental particles, constantly colliding and annihilating each other in a fierce primordial soup. The universe was completely opaque, a glowing, impenetrable wall of blinding light and raw energy. There were no stars, no quiet planets, only the roaring heat of creation. But the universe was patient, and the relentless expansion continued to cool the cosmos. For 380,000 years, the universe remained this glowing, opaque fog. But as the expansion continued, the temperature gradually dropped until it became just cool enough for the agitated electrons to slow down and be gently captured by the roaming protons. In a single, magnificent cosmic epoch, known as recombination, the very first atoms of simple hydrogen and helium were formed. In that precise, breathtaking moment, something deeply miraculous happened. Because the free-roaming electrons were now safely bound into stable atoms, they could no longer scatter the passing light. The blinding, opaque fog suddenly and beautifully cleared. For the very first time in its entire history, the universe became transparent. The trapped light was finally set free to travel across the vast, expanding distances of the cosmos. That very first burst of ancient light, released 380,000 years after the beginning of time, is still traveling through the quiet universe today. We can actually see it. When brilliant scientists use the sophisticated instruments aboard the European Space Agency's Planck satellite, or the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's advanced observatories, they detect a faint, incredibly uniform microwave radiation coming from every direction in the night sky. This is called the cosmic microwave background. It is the literal, physical afterglow of the Big Bang, the cooling echo of creation itself. When you look at an old, untuned television set and see the fuzzy static dancing on the screen, a small fraction of that static is actually the ancient light from the very birth of the universe, gently striking the antenna after traveling for over 13 billion years. When we look closely at this ancient map of the cosmic microwave background, we see that it is not perfectly smooth. There are tiny, almost imperceptible variations in temperature scattered across the ancient light. These tiny variations are the exact same quantum fluctuations that were stretched to cosmic proportions during the brief era of inflation. They are the slightly denser regions of the early universe. In these slightly cooler regions, the invisible dark matter began to gently pool together, creating the first shallow gravitational valleys. These ancient, microscopic ripples in the fabric of the universe were the primordial seeds that would eventually grow, over billions of years of patient cosmic time, into the sweeping, majestic galaxy clusters we see today. The staggering stars of IC 1101 can trace their absolute origin back to a quantum ripple frozen into existence during the first fraction of a second. This realization connects the absolute largest structures in the known universe directly to the absolute smallest, tying the macrocosm and the microcosm together in a single, elegant tapestry of existence. The quiet, gentle void that surrounds us is not merely an empty stage where the drama of the universe plays out. It is the active, creative source of everything that is, was, and ever will be. You, sitting here in the quiet comfort of the present moment, are intimately and physically connected to that ancient, blazing dawn of creation. The hydrogen atoms in the water that sustains your body were forged in that exact moment of recombination, 380,000 years after the universe began. You carry the ancient, silent memory of the Big Bang within your very cells. Every single breath you take is a continuation of that primordial expansion. As we gently close our eyes and prepare to rest, let the profound, comforting weight of this cosmic history wash over you. We are not fragile strangers wandering through a cold, disconnected void. We are the direct, beautiful descendants of the very first moment of time, grown from the microscopic quantum seeds of the expanding universe. We are the cosmos gradually waking up, opening its eyes, and learning to understand its own magnificent, ancient birth. The mystery of the universe is vast, and the journey of understanding is an infinite, winding path. But we are walking it together, guided by the gentle light of human curiosity and the profound peace of the silent stars. In our next exploration, we will look at how those ancient seeds grew into the first burning lights in the dark. For now, let the infinite, ancient calm of the cosmos fill your mind, and rest in the knowledge that you are a beautiful, essential part of this eternal, wondrous story. Have you ever sat outside on a perfectly still, freezing winter morning, long before the sun has even thought about rising, and simply watched the profound, absolute darkness, waiting patiently for the very first delicate brush strokes of pale light to appear on the horizon? We are deeply conditioned, as creatures of the warm day, to fear the dark, and to long for the comforting illumination of the dawn. But in the grand, sweeping history of our universe, there was an era of darkness so profound, so incredibly vast and ancient, that it makes our earthly nights seem like the brightest of summer afternoons. We have just traveled back to the breathtaking moment when the early universe cleared, releasing the ancient light of the cosmic microwave background. But when that primordial flash of creation faded into the stretching fabric of space, the universe did not burst into the glorious starry tapestry we see today. Instead, it entered a long, silent, and deeply mysterious period that astronomers gently call the cosmic dark ages. Imagine an infinite ocean of pure, cooling, neutral hydrogen gas, expanding quietly into an absolute, starless night. For hundreds of millions of years, there were no bright galaxies to break the endless black, no warm suns to bathe nascent planets in golden light, and absolutely no eyes to look out into the deep void and wonder. It was a time of cosmic slumber, a profound pause in the energetic life of the universe. Yet, in the realm of cosmology, silence and darkness are never simply an absence of activity. They are the fertile, unseen soil where the most magnificent structures of reality are patiently taking root. Beneath the impenetrable shroud of this primordial night, the invisible architecture of the cosmos was quietly, tirelessly at work. Remember those microscopic quantum fluctuations, the tiny ripples in the fabric of the absolute void that were frozen and stretched by cosmic inflation. During the long, silent millions of years of the Dark Ages, those ancient quantum whispers began to dictate the ultimate destiny of all matter. In the slightly cooler regions of the spreading gas, the heavy, invisible scaffolding of dark matter began to gently pool together. Because dark matter does not interact with light, it could collapse and gather much more easily than the normal gas. It formed vast, invisible gravitational wells, deep cosmic valleys hidden perfectly in the dark. Slowly, with an almost agonizing, beautiful patience, the normal hydrogen gas began to feel the pull of these invisible valleys. Gravity is the ultimate sculptor of the universe, a gentle, persistent force that never sleeps. Over tens of millions of years, the delicate hydrogen gas was drawn inevitably into the protective embrace of the dark matter halos. As the gas slowly fell into these invisible cosmic basins, it began to gather, to swirl, and to compress. The universe was forming vast, slow-moving rivers of gas, cosmic filaments stretching across the infinite void, weaving the very first threads of the majestic cosmic web. As the gas grew denser in the deepest hearts of these dark matter wells, the pressure began to rise, and with the pressure came immense heat. The long, cold night of the universe was finally preparing to end. Deep within the crushing centers of these ancient gas clouds, the temperature reached a critical threshold. The hydrogen atoms were squeezed so tightly together by the staggering weight of the collapsing cloud that they began to fuse. In a magnificent, blinding flash of pure nuclear fire, the very first star in the universe ignited, and then another and another, lighting up across the endless dark like fireflies, waking up in a deep, ancient forest. Astronomers call these very first mythical celestial bodies population 3 stars, because they were forged from an absolutely pristine mixture of only hydrogen and helium, without any of the heavier elements that help cool down forming stars today. They grew to monstrous, unfathomable proportions. These ancient, glowing titans were hundreds, perhaps even 1,000 times more massive than our own sun. They burned with a fierce, blinding intensity, radiating an amount of raw energy that staggers the modern human imagination. A single one of these primordial behemoths would outshine millions of ordinary stars. They were the brilliant, violent heralds of the cosmic dawn. As their powerful, searing ultraviolet light punched through the surrounding darkness, it illuminated the sprawling clouds of gas, casting the very first shadows across the infinite void. The universe, after hundreds of millions of years of profound slumber, had finally opened its eyes. The delicate, silent quantum ripples born in the very first fraction of a second had officially transformed into burning, physical reality. But the light from these massive first stars did far more than simply illuminate the dark. It actively transformed the very fabric of the cosmic void itself. The intense ultraviolet radiation pouring out of these brilliant giants was so powerful that it began to strip the delicate electrons right back off the surrounding hydrogen atoms, tearing apart the peaceful atomic structures that had formed during the ancient era of recombination. This profound, universe-altering process is known as cosmic rionization. The massive stars were essentially carving out enormous, glowing bubbles of transparent, ionized gas in the thick, neutral fog of the early universe. Over time, as more and more of these brilliant giant stars ignited in the dark matter valleys, these glowing bubbles grew, intersected, and merged until the entire infinite expanse of the cosmos was fundamentally changed. The neutral fog was burned away entirely, leaving behind the clear, transparent, starry universe that we are privileged to observe today. Because these massive stars burned so incredibly hot, they exhausted their nuclear fuel at a terrifying, accelerated pace. While our gentle, small yellow sun can burn peacefully for 10 billion years, these ancient titans lived for only a few fleeting million years before their cores collapsed under their own immense gravity. Their deaths were as spectacular as their brilliant lives. They exploded in staggering, unimaginably powerful supernovas, tearing themselves apart and blasting the very first heavy elements out into the expanding void. These precious heavy elements would eventually mix with the pristine gas, forever changing the chemistry of the cosmos and laying the vital foundation for the next generation of smaller stars, the rocky planets, and eventually the complex biology of life itself. As the great astronomer Carl Sagan once elegantly said, "We are made of star stuff. The iron flowing silently in your blood right now was forged in the blinding cores of those very first ancient titans before they exploded into the dark." As we gently contemplate this ancient transition from absolute darkness to blinding light, we are reminded of a profound truth about the nature of existence. The long, silent period of the cosmic dark ages was not a mistake, nor was it a waste of deep cosmic time. It was an absolutely essential period of quiet preparation. Without the long, dark, cooling patience of that ancient era, the gas could never have safely gathered in the dark matter wells. The quantum seeds could never have taken root in the silence. The brilliant, life-giving light of the stars required the deep, restful darkness in order to be born. It is a gentle reminder that in our own fleeting lives, periods of quiet, apparent stillness, and even darkness, are often the necessary, fertile ground where our most profound growth and eventual brilliance are slowly gathering strength. The universe spent hundreds of millions of years waiting in the absolute silence, just to create the perfect conditions for the light to return. As the gentle night surrounds you now, do not fear the dark. Embrace it as the ancient, comforting, and necessary canvas upon which all the light and beauty of the universe is painted. We have traveled from the bubbling nothingness of the quantum vacuum through the invisible architecture of dark matter, back to the blinding origin of time, and into the long, patient silence of the cosmic dark ages. But the story of how the void shaped our reality is still unfolding. What happens when these ancient, scattered stars begin to find each other in the dark? How does the quiet gravity of the void weave them together into the sprawling, majestic cities of light that we call galaxies? We will gently explore the beautiful, slow-motion dance of galactic creation in our next journey together. For now, let the deep, ancient patience of the cosmos settle softly into your thoughts, and rest in the profoundly comforting knowledge that you are a child of both the deep, silent darkness and the brilliant, enduring light. Have you ever watched a single droplet of rain resting silent on a cold window pane, perfect and still, until it touches a neighboring drop, merging to join a larger, rushing stream? In our everyday human experience, we understand that great things are built from smaller, individual pieces coming together. A solitary brick becomes a comforting home, and an isolated voice joins others to create a resonant, beautiful chorus. But when we look out into the vast tapestry of the night sky, we are often overwhelmed by the unimaginable distances separating the burning stars. We see them as solitary lighthouses separated by unfathomable oceans of dark, freezing space. Yet, the profound truth of our universe is that nothing exists in absolute isolation. We have journeyed through the ancient, blinding dawn of the first stars, watching them ignite and fade in the deep darkness. Now, we must explore how the quiet, invisible hands of gravity reached across the expanding void, gathering those scattered lights into the sprawling, majestic cities of stars we call galaxies. This is the story of the cosmic web, the grandest architecture ever constructed in the infinite universe. When those brilliant, massive first stars exploded in spectacular supernovas at the end of the cosmic dawn. They did not leave behind an empty, lifeless void. They left behind the precious, heavy elements forged in their burning cores, scattering oxygen and iron into the expanding clouds of ancient hydrogen gas. At the very center of those explosive deaths, they left the dense remnants of their collapsed cores, the first small black holes drifting in the quiet dark. But remember the heavy scaffolding we discovered earlier. The vast halos of dark matter were still there, acting as deep, permanent gravitational basins. The enriched gas, the drifting dust, and newborn black holes could not escape the patient pull of these invisible valleys. Gravity, the tireless sculptor of the cosmos, drew this material back together. Over tens of millions of quiet years, new generations of stars began to ignite within these protected dark matter wells. These were not solitary, blinding giants, but smaller, cooler, and far more patient stars, burning with a steady, enduring light. They clustered close together in the gravitational embrace of unseen dark matter, forming the first fragile communities of light in the infinite void. Astronomers softly call these early collections of stars dwarf galaxies. These ancient dwarf galaxies were the fundamental building blocks of the glowing universe, the humble villages from which all the great cosmic cities would eventually rise. But the universe is a dynamic, moving masterpiece. The space between these tiny dwarf galaxies was filled with the stretching, invisible threads of the dark matter web. Imagine a vast, three-dimensional spider web spanning billions of light years across the cosmos, where glowing dwarf galaxies are like tiny dewdrops resting on intersecting threads. As the universe expanded, the gravitational pull along these massive filaments created cosmic rivers, guiding the dwarf galaxies toward each other in a slow, majestic drift. For hundreds of millions of years, these small communities of stars journeyed along the invisible highways of the void, drawn toward the densest intersections of the cosmic web. And when they met in the cold darkness, they did not pass each other by in silence. They felt the mutual, connected pull of their shared gravity, beginning a beautiful, aeons-long cosmic dance that would forever alter the structure of reality. When we hear the scientific term galactic merger, our minds often conjure images of terrifying violence, of catastrophic collisions and sudden destruction. But on the staggering scale of the cosmos, a galactic merger is a breathtaking slow-motion ballet unfolding over hundreds of millions of years. When two dwarf galaxies begin to interact, the first thing that happens is a silent gravitational conversation. Even separated by thousands of light years, they feel each other's ancient presence. Gravity begins to distort their shapes ever so slight. Stars orbiting in peace begin to feel a pull from an unexpected direction in the dark. As the galaxies draw closer, they stretch and warp like pulling soft, warm taffy, drawing out long ribbons of ancient stars known as tidal tails. These delicate tails extend for hundreds of thousands of light years into surrounding space, serving as luminous markers of the interaction. The galaxies swing past each other, their mutual gravity slowing them down before swinging back again, closer with each passing epoch. Finally, like two dancers who have clasped hands in the dark, they merge. Because the space between individual stars is so vast, actual stellar collisions are near impossible. The stars pass safe through each other's neighborhoods, their orbits rearranged by gravity. During this magnificent merger, something miraculous happens to the cold gas drifting between the stars. As the galaxies intertwine, these sprawling gas clouds are squeezed by shifting gravitational forces. This cosmic pressure triggers a spectacular burst of new star formation. Millions of brilliant newborn stars light up the newly combined galaxy, turning the dark merger into a blinding starburst seen across billions of light years of space. This continuous, patient process of gathering, merging, and igniting is called hierarchical structure formation. It is the fundamental, beautiful rule governing the architecture of our universe. The universe builds its most magnificent structures from the bottom up, starting with microscopic quantum seeds, growing into isolated dwarf galaxies, and merging them countless times over billions of years. Our own magnificent home, the Milky Way galaxy, is the direct result of this ancient process. When you look up at the glowing band of starlight stretching across the night sky, you are looking at the combined, recycled heritage of dozens, perhaps hundreds, of smaller galaxies that surrendered their individual identities to build our swirling cosmic home over the last 10 billion years. But the story of galactic creation does not end with beautiful, sweeping spiral arms like those of our Milky Way. At the very heart of massive galaxy clusters, the process of merging reaches its most extreme conclusion. When large, mature spiral galaxies collide and merge, the delicate, intricate structures of their swirling arms are erased by complex gravitational chaos. The stars are stirred together into a smooth, featureless, spherical, or oval distribution, creating an elliptical galaxy. When an elliptical galaxy sits perfect at the center of a dense cluster, like the monstrous giant IC 1101, it becomes a cosmic leviathan. It spends billions of years consuming every smaller galaxy wandering too close, adding their stars, their gas, and their central black holes to its own staggering bulk. This is why IC 1101 contains an unbelievable 100 trillion stars and a supermassive black hole with the mass of 50 billion suns. It is the ultimate monument to the ancient, relentless power of cosmic gravity, a silent testament to billions of years of patient gathering in the dark. As we reflect on this slow, beautiful assembly of the cosmos, we find a profound, comforting lesson about our own existence. We often feel isolated in our individual lives, separated by the boundaries of our bodies and terrestrial geographies. But the very history of the universe teaches us that separation is always temporary, and that connection is the ultimate, inescapable destiny of all things. The carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen sustaining your breath were forged in different stars, separated by unimaginable oceans of empty space. Yet they were drawn together by the quiet gravity of the void, journeying across the cosmic web, surviving ancient galactic mergers, and condensing into the rocky surface of our small planet. You are a living, breathing community of ancient cosmic travelers. You are the universe's most beautiful merger, a collection of stardust looking back at the dark sky, wondering at its own ancient origins. The next time you stand under the quiet, starry expanse, do not look at the stars as lonely, isolated fires. See them as connected citizens of a grand, ancient city, held together by the heavy embrace of dark matter and gravity. Feel the silent, slow-motion dance unfolding for billions of years to create the exact, beautiful arrangement of light you witness in this fleeting moment. Our gentle exploration of these majestic cosmic cities is almost complete. How long will this beautiful dance continue? And what is the final destiny of all this carefully gathered light? We will journey into the deep, quiet future of the universe next. For now, let the comforting connection of the cosmic web settle your mind, and rest in the knowledge that you are never alone in the dark. Have you ever sat quietly by a hearth as a fire slowly burns itself down to the very last glowing embers, watching the vibrant, dancing flames gradually surrender to a profound, quiet cooling? In our human lives, we understand deeply that all energetic things eventually find their rest. The vibrant, burning day must always give way to the silent, peaceful night. When we look up at the glorious, star-filled sky today, it feels eternal and unchanging, a permanent tapestry of burning light covering the infinite dark. We are currently living in a magnificent cosmic epoch that scientists gently call the stelliferous era, the beautiful age of shining stars. But just as the vibrant autumn leaves must eventually fall from the sheltering trees, this brilliant era is only a fleeting, temporary season in the unimaginably vast timeline of the universe. We have journeyed together through the explosive dawn of time, the silent dark ages, and the glorious slow-motion assembly of sweeping galaxies. Now, we must gather our courage and gently cast our minds far into the deep, quiet future, to explore the ultimate destiny of all this carefully gathered light. The universe is currently a bustling, vibrant factory of stellar creation. Deep within the beautiful, sprawling arms of spiral galaxies like our own Milky Way, vast clouds of cold hydrogen gas are continuously collapsing under their own gentle gravity to forge brilliant newborn stars. But this raw material, the precious cosmic fuel that sustains the comforting light, is absolutely not infinite. As the universe continues its relentless, accelerating expansion, driven by the quiet, mysterious breath of dark energy, the magnificent galaxies are being pushed further and further apart. The life-giving gas within them is being slowly, inevitably consumed by the burning stars or violently expelled into the dark intergalactic void by dying supernovas. Eventually, in about 100 trillion years, a span of time so staggering that it dwarfs the current 13 billion year age of our universe, the very last clouds of star-forming gas will be completely exhausted. The grand, cosmic engine of creation will finally, quietly shut down forever. No new stars will ever be born again in the endless dark. The night sky will not go dark instantly. Instead, it will be a slow, majestic, and heartbreakingly beautiful fading. The largest, brightest stars, the massive blue giants that burn their fuel with reckless, blinding intensity, will be the first to disappear, exploding in spectacular supernovas and leaving behind dark, quiet remnants in the void. Stars like our own gentle sun will burn patiently for another 5 billion years before swelling into beautiful, glowing red giants, shedding their outer layers to create stunning planetary nebulas, and finally shrinking into dense, quietly glowing white dwarfs. These white dwarfs will slowly cool over hundreds of billions of years, fading like forgotten embers in the cold, expansive dark. But the true, enduring guardians of the cosmic night are the red dwarfs. These tiny, faint stars are the absolute masters of cosmic patience. They burn their precious hydrogen fuel so slowly, with such careful, miserly precision, that a single red dwarf can continue to shine for several trillion years. Trillions of years from now, long after the last sun-like stars have faded entirely into memory, the universe will be softly illuminated solely by the dim, crimson glow of these ancient, enduring red dwarfs. But even their staggering, legendary patience has a physical limit. Eventually, one by one, the final red dwarfs will exhaust their very last atoms of fuel and quietly fade into the deep, absolute black. When the very last red dwarf extinguishes its gentle light, the stelliferous era will officially, silently end. The magnificent universe, once ablaze with the light of 100 billion trillion stars, will enter a profound, permanent darkness. Astronomers gently call this unimaginably distant future the degenerate era. It sounds bleak to our light-loving minds, but there is a strange, quiet beauty in this dark, cosmic graveyard. The universe will not be entirely empty. It will be populated by the dense, silent corpses of ancient stars, the cooling white dwarfs, the incredibly dense spinning neutron stars, and the towering invisible black holes. These dark remnants will continue to drift through the rapidly expanding, freezing void, occasionally finding each other in the dark to merge, releasing ripples of gravitational waves that will echo silently across the vast, empty cosmos. During this incredibly long, quiet epoch, the universe will slowly, patiently dismantle even these final, stubborn structures. White dwarfs, cooling over quadrillions of years, will eventually freeze into perfectly solid, crystalline spheres, becoming black dwarfs, cold, dead diamonds the size of the Earth drifting silently in the dark. And even the fundamental building blocks of normal matter itself might not be truly eternal. According to some of our most profound theories of theoretical particle physics, protons, the heavy particles that make up the very core of every atom in existence, might eventually, slowly decay. If this gentle decay occurs, it would happen over a time frame so unfathomably vast that it requires numbers that entirely break the human imagination. Something like 10 followed by 34 zeros of years. Over this unimaginable eternity, the cold, drifting black dwarfs and lonely neutron stars will simply, quietly dissolve. Their constituent atoms will slowly evaporate into a thin, cold mist of fundamental particles and faint, fading radiation. The universe will gently, thoroughly erase the final microscopic traces of the burning stars and rocky planets that once beautifully adorned it. When the last protons have silently decayed, the universe will enter the awe-inspiring black hole era. Only these monstrous gravitational titans will remain, dominating an incredibly dark, unimaginably vast, and rapidly expanding void. But, as we learned earlier on our contemplative journey into the quantum realm, even black holes are not truly eternal. The quiet, bubbling energy of the quantum vacuum, the gentle, persistent force of Hawking radiation, will slowly, patiently dismantle even these final cosmic behemoths. A black hole with the mass of a supermassive giant will take 1 Google years to evaporate entirely, a 1 followed by 100 zeros. It is a cosmic waiting game of such supreme, ultimate patience that time itself almost loses its practical meaning. Slowly, particle by patient particle, the great black holes will return their stolen energy back to the quiet, expanding void. Finally, when the very last isolated black hole evaporates in a final, silent, microscopic flash of radiation, the universe will reach its ultimate, eternal resting state, known beautifully as the Dark Era. The cosmos will be a nearly perfect, rapidly expanding emptiness, filled only with an incredibly thin, freezing soup of weary photons and isolated fundamental particles that are so unimaginably far apart that they will almost never, ever interact. The temperature of the universe will approach absolute zero, the ultimate, perfect stillness where all movement, all energy, and all fundamental change completely ceases. This is the heat death of the universe, not a violent death by fire, but a gentle, permanent slipping into an eternal, perfect, undisturbed sleep. It is the ultimate, peaceful resolution of the grand cosmic symphony, a graceful return to the absolute quiet from which it all originally began. Confronting this vast, dark future can naturally feel overwhelming, perhaps even deeply sorrowful to our human hearts that so desperately crave permanence and eternal light. But I gently invite you to look at this absolute cosmic silence from a different, far more beautiful perspective. The inevitable, quiet death of the universe does not rob our current, breathing existence of its profound meaning. Rather, it makes this exact, fleeting moment incredibly, breathtakingly precious. We happen to exist right now, in the glorious, vibrant springtime of the cosmos. We are living in the exact, beautiful, temporary era when the stars are burning brightly, when the grand galaxies are dancing in the dark, and when the universe is warm enough, complex enough, and luminous enough to give birth to curious, dreaming minds like your own. Out of an incomprehensible eternity of cold, silent darkness, the universe has miraculously managed to conjure a brief, magnificent spark of light and life. You are a living, breathing part of that beautiful spark. The profound fact that the stars will eventually, inevitably fade does not diminish their current, stunning beauty. The fact that the universe will one day go to a permanent sleep does not make our waking moments any less miraculous. Instead, it teaches us to deeply, fiercely cherish the light while we have it. We are the conscious, waking observers of a magnificent, temporary cosmic masterpiece. Every single time you look up at the night sky, you are bearing witness to a fleeting, glorious miracle of physics and deep time. You are seeing the universe in its absolute prime. As we sit here in the quiet, supportive comfort of the present, let the immense, silent weight of the deep future teach us profound gratitude for the vibrant, living present. The quiet nothingness awaits us all in the end, but tonight the ancient stars are still burning, the great galaxies are still spinning, and our minds are still completely free to wander through the beautiful, infinite dark. We are the temporary, brilliant light in an eternal sea of quiet night. Our gentle journey through the long life and eventual peaceful rest of the cosmos is slowly drawing to a close. But there is one final, profound question we must ask before we end our contemplative voyage. If our universe was born from a tiny quantum ripple and will inevitably end in absolute, freezing silence, what does that mean for the concept of multiple universes, the vast, theoretical landscape of the infinite multiverse? Are there other beautiful sparks of light hidden away in the infinite, timeless dark? We will quietly explore this mind-expanding, hopeful possibility in our next journey together. For now, let the beautiful, fleeting nature of our fragile universe bring you a deep, profound sense of inner peace. You are perfectly safe, resting gently and securely in the magnificent, luminous, and deeply loved heart of eternity. Have you ever stood on the very edge of a vast, quiet ocean at the exact moment the sun dips below the horizon, looking out across the endless dark water, and wondered if there are other distant shores you simply cannot see? We spend our entire, gentle lives bound to this one beautiful, rocky planet, warmed by one single star, wrapped in the comforting embrace of one specific, infinite universe. We have journeyed together from the bubbling, restless depths of the quantum vacuum, through the ancient, blinding dawn of the very first stars, to the long, slow-motion assembly of sweeping galaxies, and finally into the quiet, frozen eternity of the deep cosmic future. It is a magnificent, staggering story, an epic, beautiful saga of creation and peaceful dissolution spanning 13,800,000,000 years of history, and quadrillions of years into the dark. But as we rest here in the quiet, comforting present, contemplating the sheer vastness of everything we have gently uncovered, we are forced to ask one final, breathtaking question that pushes the very limits of human imagination. Is our magnificent, expanding universe, with its 100 trillion burning stars and its dark, stretching void, all that there is? Or is it merely one single, fragile drop of rain in an unimaginably vast, eternal cosmic storm? The concept of the multiverse was not born from science fiction, but from the rigorous, beautiful, and deeply perplexing mathematics of modern physics itself. When we traveled back to the absolute beginning of time, we witnessed the terrifying brief era of cosmic inflation, where the fabric of space stretched faster than the speed of light in less than a trillionth of a second. The brilliant physicists who developed this elegant theory realized that this magnificent inflationary expansion might not have been a single, unique event that simply started and then peacefully stopped everywhere all at once. According to the profound theory of eternal inflation, the rapid, explosive stretching of space is actually a permanent, ongoing state of the absolute void. In this mind-bending scenario, the vast underlying fabric of the cosmos is continuously inflating, forever stretching out into the silent dark at staggering speeds. But occasionally, in random, isolated patches of this eternally expanding void, the inflation quietly stops. The immense energy of the expansion gracefully transforms into ordinary matter and radiation, creating a hot, dense, and beautiful new universe. Our entire universe, with its billions of sweeping galaxies and endless oceans of heavy dark matter, is just one of these quiet, isolated patches where the inflation ceased. We are living inside a single, beautiful bubble universe, gently floating in an infinitely larger, eternally expanding cosmic ocean. And just like fragile bubbles forming in a rapidly boiling pot of water, other unique universes are constantly popping into existence all around us in the vast, unseen beyond. This breathtaking vision of an infinite, bubbling multiverse elegantly solves one of the most profound, deeply beautiful mysteries in all of science, a puzzle often called the fine-tuning problem. When physicists carefully measure the fundamental laws and constants of our reality, the exact, specific strength of gravity, the precise mass of the electron, the delicate, ancient balance of the fundamental nuclear forces, they discover something deeply, almost unsettlingly miraculous. If any of these fundamental cosmic numbers were altered by even the tiniest, most microscopic fraction, the delicate architecture of our reality would instantly collapse. If gravity were slightly stronger, all the stars would have burned through their nuclear fuel in a few brief million years, leaving no time for complex life to patiently evolve. If gravity were slightly weaker, the ancient gas clouds could never have gathered to form galaxies, leaving the universe a cold, featureless, empty void forever. The laws of physics seem to have been perfectly, precisely tuned to allow for the creation of stars, rocky planets, and conscious, dreaming minds. For decades, this profound perfection was a source of deep, philosophical wonder and intense scientific mystery. Why is our universe so perfectly, gently balanced for life? But in the vast, infinite landscape of the multiverse, this baffling mystery dissolves into a beautiful, simple statistical certainty. In an infinite multiverse containing an infinite number of bubbling universes, every single possible combination of physical laws must absolutely exist somewhere in the endless dark. There are endless bubble universes where gravity is an absolute, crushing tyrant, collapsing all matter into monstrous black holes before a single star can ever ignite. There are quiet, ghost universes where the nuclear forces are simply too weak to bind atoms together, leaving them filled only with a thin, eternally spreading mist of lonely, disconnected particles. Most of these countless universes are completely sterile, devoid of light, warmth, and the beautiful complexity of biological life. But in an infinite collection, there will inevitably, necessarily be a few rare, precious bubbles where the cosmic numbers randomly align in absolute, breathtaking perfection. We find ourselves living in one of these perfectly balanced, beautiful universes, simply because it is the exact, only kind of universe where conscious, wondering observers could ever possibly exist to look up and ask the question. Our existence is not a strange, inexplicable miracle, but a natural, beautiful consequence of infinity itself. We are the rare, conscious winners of a cosmic lottery playing out across an endless, timeless ocean of creation. But the theory of eternal inflation is not the only gentle path that leads our curious minds into the vast, hidden landscape of the multiverse. When brilliant, theoretical physicists attempt to unify all the known forces of nature into one single, elegant mathematical framework, they often turn to the deeply mysterious, beautiful world of string theory. In this profound vision of reality, the fundamental building blocks of the universe are not tiny, solid points of matter, but infinitesimally small, vibrating loops of pure, ancient energy. Just as the different vibrations of a delicate cello string produce different resonant musical notes, the different, quiet vibrations of these microscopic, cosmic strings produce all the different particles and forces we clearly see in the world around us. But for the beautiful, complex mathematics of string theory to work perfectly, the universe cannot simply have the three basic dimensions of space and one dimension of time that we comfortably experience every single day. The rigorous mathematics rigidly demands the absolute existence of extra, hidden spatial dimensions, perhaps 10 or 11 dimensions in total, existing all around us in the silent dark. These extra dimensions are curled up so tightly, folded into spaces so microscopically small that our human senses and our most advanced telescopic instruments simply cannot perceive them. But their quiet existence opens the door to another, entirely different kind of multiverse. In this mind-expanding model, our entire vast universe, with all its sweeping galaxies, endless dark matter, and stretching void, is gently trapped on a single three-dimensional membrane, drifting peacefully through a much higher dimensional space known beautifully as the bulk. Imagine a single thin slice of soft bread resting in a much larger, vast bakery. We are entirely confined to our specific slice, completely unable to see or interact directly with the vast space outside our membrane. But the bulk might not be empty at all. There could be other parallel membranes drifting silently through this higher dimensional void. Other entirely complete universes floating right next to ours, separated not by vast distances of ordinary space, but by a microscopic, imperceptible gap in a dimension we simply cannot see or touch. These parallel universes might be completely different from our own, governed by bizarre, alien laws of physics, or they might be strange, quiet reflections of our own reality. They are hidden forever in the dark, existing just an imperceptible millimeter away from the quiet room where you are comfortably resting right now. Some brilliant theoretical physicists even suspect that this higher dimensional landscape might gracefully explain some of the deepest, most persistent mysteries of our own cosmos. We previously marveled at the heavy, unseen architecture of dark matter, the invisible scaffolding that holds the sweeping galaxies together. What if this mysterious dark matter is not actually composed of unseen particles drifting in our own space, but is instead the subtle, gentle gravitational shadow of ordinary matter residing in a parallel universe resting right next to our own in the higher dimensional bulk? Gravity, alone among all the fundamental forces of nature, might have the unique, profound ability to bleed across the microscopic gaps between these hidden dimensions. The immense gravitational pull that we consistently attribute to dark matter could simply be the quiet, unseen echo of massive alien galaxies drifting peacefully on an adjacent membrane. This beautiful, haunting idea transforms our vast, stretching universe from a solitary, lonely island into a deeply connected, layered tapestry of reality, where unseen worlds softly influence our own through the quiet, ancient language of gravity. To try and hold these immense, staggering concepts in our fragile human minds, the eternal inflation of endless bubble universes, the hidden folded dimensions of string theory, the parallel membranes drifting in the dark bulk, is an exercise in profound, humbling wonder. It gently challenges every single intuition we have ever developed about our personal place in the grand natural order of things. For centuries, every major leap in human understanding has gently, inevitably, moved us further away from the center of existence. We once believed, with innocent, beautiful certainty, that our warm, green earth was the absolute center of everything, around which the entire heavens dutifully revolved. Then we discovered that we are merely orbiting an ordinary yellow star, tucked away in a quiet, dusty spiral arm of a sweeping galaxy. Then we realized that our beautiful Milky Way is just one of 2 trillion galaxies drifting in the endlessly stretching void. And now, as we gently push the absolute boundaries of physics to their absolute limits, we are confronted with the awe-inspiring possibility that even our entire magnificent universe is nothing more than a single microscopic grain of sand on an infinite, eternal beach of multiple realities. This continuous, staggering loss of cosmic centrality might feel terrifying or deeply isolating at first glance. It might seem to render our tiny, fleeting lives entirely meaningless in the face of such overwhelming, infinite immensity. But I gently invite you to look at this vast, bubbling multiverse through a completely different, far more beautiful lens. The sheer, terrifying scale of existence does not diminish the profound, quiet beauty of your individual consciousness. Rather, it elevates it to something truly, unimaginably miraculous. Out of an infinite, eternal ocean of possibility, out of countless sterile void universes and chaotic, collapsing realities, this one specific, gentle universe managed to unfold in absolute, breathtaking perfection. The ancient quantum seeds were planted in the dark, the invisible dark matter patiently gathered. The first blinding stars ignited and beautifully died to forge the heavy elements. The grand spiral galaxies formed in the silent dark, and the delicate, complex chemistry of life patiently took root on this specific, beautiful, rocky world. All of this immense ancient history culminated in the quiet creation of a beautiful mind, capable of looking back out into the dark and wondering about it all. You are not a meaningless speck in an uncaring, empty void. You are the beautiful, conscious focal point of a universe that spent 13,800,000,000 years quietly preparing for your arrival. The mystery of the multiverse reminds us that the journey of scientific discovery, the deep, fundamental human drive to understand the cosmos, is an infinite, eternal path. There will never be a final, quiet moment where we know absolutely everything. No definitive boundary where the deep mysteries of existence simply end. Every single answer we gently uncover only opens the door to deeper, more profound questions. And that is exactly as it should be. The unknown is not a terrifying enemy to be conquered, but a vast, beautiful ocean inviting us to continually, gently explore. The fact that there are hidden dimensions we cannot perceive, or parallel universes we can never visit, does not mock our understanding. It guarantees that our fundamental sense of wonder will never, ever be exhausted. The cosmos is infinitely generous with its marvelous secrets, always providing a new, distant horizon for our curious minds to chase. As we sit here together, contemplating the vast, hidden landscapes of absolute reality, let the profound, quiet peace of the infinite gently settle into your thoughts. You do not need to hold the entire, staggering multiverse in your mind to feel its comforting, ancient embrace. You are a living, breathing expression of the universe's infinite potential, a rare, precious spark of consciousness safely sheltered in a cosmos that is perfectly, beautifully balanced to allow you to exist. Think about the gentle, comforting silence of the night sky, not as an empty, lonely void, but as a vast, breathing canvas of infinite possibility. Somewhere out there in the timeless, endless dark, beyond the cosmic horizon where the stretching fabric of space hides the furthest galaxies from our view, the eternal inflation of the vacuum continues its silent, relentless work. Countless other bubble universes are quietly popping into existence, even as you draw your next breath. They are filling the endless dark with their own unique, beautiful laws of physics, their own strange, swirling galaxies, and perhaps even their own conscious, dreaming minds, asking the exact same profound questions about their place in the grand cosmic tapestry. We may never be able to send a signal across the infinite, bubbling void to reach them. We may never be able to share our history, our art, or our scientific discoveries with these distant, parallel cousins, but we share a profound, fundamental connection with them simply by existing within the same infinite, eternal framework of reality. We are all deeply, undeniably connected through the vast, invisible architecture of the multiverse, born from the same fundamental quantum principles and woven into the same staggering, beautiful mystery of existence. As you drift off into a peaceful, restorative rest, carry this immense, beautiful vision with you. You are a child of the multiverse, a miracle of fine-tuning, safely navigating the gentle currents of an infinite, eternal reality. The cosmos is vast, but it holds you perfectly, securely in its ancient, silent hands. Have you ever woken up in the deepest, most quiet hour of the night, feeling the profound, heavy stillness of the house around you, and realized with a sudden, gentle clarity that your very own mind is the most mysterious, unexplored room of all? We have traveled so incredibly far together on this peaceful, contemplative journey. We began by peering into the microscopic, bubbling depths of the quantum vacuum, discovering that true emptiness is a magnificent illusion, a restless, eternal sea of virtual particles popping into and out of existence in the dark. We felt the gentle, accelerating breath of dark energy as it continuously stretches the very fabric of space, pushing the ancient galaxy clusters apart. We stood on the terrifying, dark shores of supermassive black holes, watching as the quiet power of Hawking radiation patiently dismantles the most absolute gravitational vaults over a Google years. We marveled at the heavy, invisible architecture of dark matter, the unseen, ancient scaffolding that holds the sweeping, luminous galaxies together in the endless night. We traveled back to the absolute, blazing origin of time itself, watching the majestic cosmic dawn gently end the long, silent, dark ages. We observed the slow, beautiful motion of galactic mergers, and we cast our curious minds trillions of years into the deep, freezing future to witness the ultimate, peaceful sleep of the cosmos. Finally, we dared to look beyond the very edges of our own stretching reality, imagining an infinite, bubbling multiverse filled with countless other universes drifting peacefully in the dark. Through all of these staggering, mind-bending paradoxes and immense cosmic scales, we have been searching for the true nature of nothingness. But, as our incredible journey gently draws to its conclusion, we must bring our focus back from the infinite, timeless void and turn it softly inward. The final, most profound mystery of the universe does not lie in the distant, unseen dark matter or the microscopic quantum fluctuations. It lies directly behind your own waking eyes. To truly understand the universe, we must understand the observer. Let us take a quiet, contemplative moment to look closely at the very atoms that make up your gently resting body. If we were to zoom in on a single atom of carbon in your hand, past the swirling cloud of electrons, down to the dense, heavy nucleus of protons and neutrons, we would find something that feels strangely, beautifully familiar. The atom is almost entirely empty space. If the nucleus of an atom were the size of a small marble sitting in the absolute center of a vast, quiet stadium, the electrons would be like tiny, invisible gnats buzzing frantically around the very highest, furthest seats in the stands. Absolutely everything in between them is nothing. But, as we have learned on this journey, that nothing is actually the vibrant, living quantum vacuum. You are not a solid, continuous object moving through an empty world. You are a vast, sprawling galaxy of ancient particles, held together by the quiet, invisible forces of nature, suspended beautifully in an ocean of pure, bubbling quantum potential. More than 99% of your physical body is composed of the exact same nothingness that fills the deep, cold expanses of intergalactic space. The void is not just something out there, far away in the distant dark. It is deeply, fundamentally inside you. It is the invisible, silent canvas upon which the beautiful masterpiece of your physical existence is continuously painted. But if we are made almost entirely of empty space, of ancient, recycled stardust and the bubbling quantum void, how is it possible that we can feel, dream, love, and wonder? This is the ultimate, breathtaking paradox of our existence, a mystery so profound that it brings a gentle, humbling silence to the most brilliant scientific minds. For hundreds of millions of years during the cosmic dark ages, the universe was entirely blind and unfeeling. It was a vast, expanding ocean of cooling gas, governed solely by the elegant, unthinking laws of physics and the quiet, patient pull of gravity. But slowly, over billions of years of patient cosmic evolution, the invisible dark matter gathered the gas. The burning stars forged the heavy elements. The sweeping galaxies provided a safe, quiet harbor, and on at least one tiny, beautiful rocky planet, the complex chemistry of life gently took root. Through an unbroken, ancient chain of molecular miracles, the universe eventually organized a small fraction of its own matter into a structure so incredibly complex, so deeply intricate, that it suddenly, miraculously, woke up. The universe grew eyes to see its own ancient light. It grew ears to hear the gentle, silent echoes of its own creation. It grew a mind to look out into the infinite, expanding dark, and ask profound, beautiful questions about its own origin and ultimate destiny. You are not a stranger wandering through a cold, disconnected void. You are the universe itself, experiencing itself in a fleeting, beautiful moment of conscious clarity. When you stand outside on a quiet, moonless night and look up at the ancient, glowing band of the Milky Way, you are not simply an isolated observer looking at something separate and distinct from yourself. You are star stuff looking lovingly back at other star stuff. You are the silent, bubbling quantum void organizing itself into a deeply complex, dreaming pattern, looking back out into the vast, stretching emptiness from which it originally came. Every single thought you have, every gentle memory you cherish, every feeling of profound wonder that washes over you when you contemplate the infinite scale of the cosmos, is a literal, physical event happening entirely within the universe. Your consciousness is not a supernatural addition to the physical world. It is the most beautiful, complex property of the cosmos itself. The nothingness that we feared at the beginning of our journey, the cold, empty, terrifying absolute void, has been completely transformed. It is the primordial womb of all creation, the invisible scaffolding of reality, and the gentle, bubbling foundation of your very own mind. We often seek a definitive, final resolution to these immense cosmic mysteries. We want to reach the very end of the puzzle and hold the absolute, unchanging truth in our hands. But science, in its most beautiful, humble form, teaches us that the journey of understanding is an infinite, eternal path. Every single time we build a larger, more powerful telescope to peer deeper into the dark, we do not find a final, comforting wall. We only find more magnificent, staggering galaxies, more unexpected, beautiful anomalies, and far more profound, deeper questions waiting for us in the silence. The mystery of existence is completely inexhaustible, and this should not bring us frustration or a sense of defeat. It should bring us an overwhelming, gentle sense of peace and a deep, enduring comfort. The universe is infinitely generous with its marvels. It will always provide a new, distant horizon for our curious minds to chase. It guarantees that our fundamental human sense of wonder will never, ever run out. As you gently prepare to drift into a deep, restorative rest, let the immense, quiet weight of this cosmic journey slowly dissolve any lingering earthly anxieties. The problems and stresses of our daily lives can feel so overwhelmingly large and urgent in the bright light of the busy day. But when you place them against the magnificent, sweeping backdrop of 13,800,000,000 years of cosmic history, against the vast, patient evaporation of black holes, against the eternal, bubbling sea of the infinite multiverse, they gently fade into their proper, tiny perspective. You are safely cradled in a universe of unimaginable age, staggering size, and breathtaking, profound beauty. The quiet nothingness that surrounds us is not empty. It is absolutely full of infinite, ancient potential. The next time you find yourself alone in a dark, quiet room, do not fear the silence. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and feel the gentle, ancient presence of the cosmos resting right there with you. Feel the invisible quantum void bubbling softly in the spaces between your atoms. Feel the quiet, steady pull of gravity anchoring you safely to this beautiful, wandering planet. Remember that you are a rare, precious, and incredibly beautiful spark of conscious light, shining bravely in an eternal, magnificent dark. If this contemplative journey through the deep mysteries of the universe has brought you a sense of inner peace, expanded your perspective, or helped quiet your busy mind, please consider leaving a gentle comment below, sharing your own thoughts on the vast, beautiful cosmos. It brings us deep joy to know that we are not traveling through this quiet dark alone, but are part of a wonderful, curious community of cosmic explorers. And if you wish to continue unearthing the profound, peaceful secrets of reality with us, to take more quiet journeys into the infinite, please subscribe to the channel and join us for our next exploration. The universe still has so many gentle, mind-bending stories left to tell us, and we look forward to sitting with you again under the quiet, ancient light of the stars. Until we meet again, keep looking up into the dark. Keep wondering at the beautiful mysteries, and may you find a deep, lasting peace in the infinite, silent embrace of the cosmos.